Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with a severe weather update. We are watching a severe thunderstorm warning in play until 7:45 for parts of Dixie and also Lafayette County here and parts of that Florida Big Bend. So we need to go ahead and be kind of mindful of what's going on in this area because they've just seen so much rainfall in some of these regions here lately. And this is a slow-moving area of moisture. We had a gust a little bit earlier there toward Mayo there, 51 miles an hour. Getting toward the high school there, so definitely noteworthy for sure. Moving only at 5 miles an hour off toward the south. So even if the severe winds aren't necessarily there, and they could be at times getting a little bit higher than 51 miles an hour, we're more concerned, really, in my opinion, should be concerned probably more so about that rainfall threat because in the last hour about an inch, but we're going to be getting more rainfall here, and that's going to aggravate the flooding situation. We have this flood warning in this white area for another 2 days now because the water's just not going down quick enough. Those river levels have gone down some, but this could be problematic, coupled with what we could see from potential tropical cyclone number 6 as we look ahead toward that weekend and early next week. So you just got to be on guard for this threat, for this potential here. As we're examining the Doppler Radar right now, you see some of the worst of the rain there as we zoom in tighter. Some of these different roadways here popping on up. Luckily, a pretty rural area overall, but you just got to worry about this rainfall that is occurring here that can kind of aggravate a flooding situation. It looks like Tarbucket Road, one of these roads that's going to be getting into more of this moisture over the next little bit. So just kind of be watchful of this threat. You see, you just to let the hat spin there. Some of this storm is kind of moving away, it seems. That's good for them, but unfortunately getting closer to where that river flooding's been pretty significant. Still 23.33 feet there. The Steinhatchee River across city area. So I just got to be on guard here because this rain's kind of moving toward some of that area. As we go ahead and zoom out, we also had a nasty little storm around Stark, not even getting a significant weather advisory, but I know we had some gustier winds toward where I'm at here on the east side of town, eastern Bradford County, and here just in the last half hour or so, we've seen almost 1/8 of an inch of rain. So from 6:30 to 7, 0.78 inches of rain. So and most of that falling between 6:30 and 6:45. So definitely a nasty little area there, starting to break up some around Stark, but we're seeing some maybe reformation here or new formation closer toward Theresa as we're looking off the Moody radar to get this visible, but still don't want to get that rain here, especially though off toward the west where we cannot really take it here at this point. The ground is so saturated, so this is a little more concerning, obviously, a thunderstorm warning for that rainfall threat. But again, we do have that severe hazard in terms of the potential for damaging winds here. Those are a possibility. Mayo, Cooks Hammock, Grady, Hatch Bend, Fletcher, San Pedro Junction, over Fletcher Springs as well. So just be watching this thread here over the next little bit. We'll zoom back on out a little bit as we continue to watch things here with the grand scheme. This view protects them, move to an interior room on the lowest level of the building there. Try to do that lowest floor of a building if possible. And again, watching the tropics zone, I actually have a radar visual on that here as well. We have the San Juan, Puerto Rico radar we can jump to here. This is really helpful in these type of scenarios, folks, because we have that system trying to get going there south of Puerto Rico, and we actually can kind of peer into it because we have that Doppler radar technology there on the island. So we have that in our radar scope toolkit right now. So let's go ahead and jump over toward that source to be able to see what I'm talking about here right now with something maybe trying to come together here. You see some of the moisture more on the south side, but maybe getting a lower level circulation trying to form here. So that's something to watch. Maybe an update at 8 o'clock from the Hurricane Center to call this Fred, or 11 o'clock to release a tropical depression here. So that's just something to kind of be watching for with this system. We have potential tropical cyclone number 6. Getting that visual on the Doppler radar looking here. Puerto Rico, this could be our next big weather player later this weekend, especially in the beginning of early next work week. So might not end up going to work yet, but it has a big enough impact. Just depends on what your job is and where it ends up hitting. But we'll continue to watch here A lot to be decided with this system. A lot of unknowns here at this point, but seems like we may be trying to get something to form here within the Doppler radar right now. So going to continue to watch this there as we are watching this thread again, going back in a little bit. You can kind of see that here, and I'll put this into motion, in fact, as we try to give you an idea of what's going on within the radar echoes. So there's kind of our viewpoint on things, watching the scenario here. We're just going to see what kind of comes together over the next little bit in this vicinity. You can kind of see some of the tracks here. See how some of them are even in opposing directions. So you kind of see that flow here. I'll keep those up. I think about taking them off, but go ahead and keep those up so you can kind of see how we have some opposing directions here with a spin, maybe trying to get low level circulation. So let's go ahead and go back on over toward our current radar view locally here to severe thunderstorm warning. The reason we're breaking in right now, this goes until 7:45. Pretty long fused one. We'll see if it goes that long, but we're just watching right for that torrential rainfall to be a hazard as well. I just have to be on guard about that because this area does not need more rain, and we're seeing more rain over and into here in the last hour as we get there in the street level map, and not seeing again too many street names pop on up. But gotta be watching that threat there. I know we're also watching a severe weather threat toward Wisconsin. We have, I think, our first tornado warning here. This is not far from Green Bay, so we'll get that poured up on our radar scope source here in just a moment. A TVS signature even showing up. That's when the radar is getting that really good gate to gate, and that honestly may have a debris signature. I haven't checked that yet, but I'm going to go ahead and check it before I jump. Oh yeah, that's a confirmed tornado, folks. So let's go ahead now and jump on over toward radar scope. You want to see what I'm talking about here. So this is west of Green Bay. The threat's more for damage and winds today generally, but there's a TVS signature, and then you'll see the gate to gate, and you'll see what I'm talking about with the debris signature here pretty much. So our TVS, it ends up in the perfect spot, but that's our system's picking up on the circulation down here. It's just a little ahead of it, but you can see it right there. There's your gate to gate. That's a really clear signature. And then these winds in here showing up are really strong. This right here, indicative of 79-mile-an-hour winds. That's 17. That's about 100 miles an hour. And then as we go over to correlation coefficient, it's pretty clear here, folks. That's a dropout. That looks like a tornado on the ground there. Again, this is in Wisconsin. We're switching topics real quick, switching areas on you, just to kind of tell you the national story. But you see something like that. This is something to watch here. Not that far from the Green Bay radar. Don't get that all that often up here. So that's going to be something they'll be monitoring very carefully. Let's kind of loop this to see how close this might come toward Green Bay over the next little bit. So this will be kind of imperative for them to kind of take heed. You see how it came together real quick there. And it's heading pretty much, it looks like easterly. So that can be a problem here later on. So you can kind of see if it tracks generally like it is now, maybe something like this. So probably won't hold together the whole time, but could kind of re-strengthen, weaken from time to time. So just have to be watching that there toward Wisconsin. A tornado on the ground there. They're now calling it that in the statement near Black Creek, or 16 miles. It looks like south of another community, moving east at 15. So the slow movement might help it weaken off before it gets toward Green Bay. But right now, a tornado on the ground there toward part of this area. You can see the county names. If I move this over just a little bit, in fact, you can see a couple of those county names on your screen. So those are important there as well. But let's go ahead and move away from this for the time being and see our camera here toward this dark area, looking off toward the west there. Watching the situation carefully on this camera viewpoint. You can kind of see here things drawing out. Some now around dark, which is good. But our bigger story is that severe weather threat here. The reason we're on is a severe weather warning up toward the Big Bend. The southeastern Big Bend has been hammered so hard here lately. You see areas there around Mayo getting into some heavier rainfall still. Last hour or so, about an inch or so of rain. And you can kind of see that, how that's falling in that general vicinity. Going a little bit further in time, you see maybe an inch of rain here at times. So just have to be kind of watching out for this threat here against severe thunderstorm warning in Plato. 7:45. It's a pretty long fused one here. So the Weather Service is going to maybe hold on to this for a while if we don't see too much weakening in this area. So let's go ahead and follow those precautions. This is when thunder roars, you want to go indoors. When you do that, you want to seek shelter more likely, preferably inside a sturdy building and to stay away from those windows here. So again, reason we're on, we wouldn't always break in for this area, but because of the history here with the rain over the last week or so, extra rainfall is not a good thing. And that's what we're seeing right now off toward the west. In fact, let's check some of the river levels here while we're on as well. I'm going to go ahead and pop up some more information here. You see the Fort White Santa Fe area, Santa Fe River, moderate flood stage 25.2 feet as the last check. And then the Cross City area, the Steinhatchee River, 23.33 feet. That's still high. Moderate flood stage, the highest it's ever been, only in that 26 range. And that was after Dora. So still pretty significant. If we get rain from this, more rain later in the week. And then especially from our system, maybe that could be Fred. Could be Fred within the next hour even. Declared as Fred. If not, maybe I would think at least by 11 as a depressing the minimum here. So we just have to be kind of on guard here based on what we saw on the radar. And then that's going to help the Weather Service and the Hurricane Center, of course. We're more talking about them as they're the ones in charge of this. Go ahead and just call this a actual tropical system, whether it's a depression based on the wind speeds or a tropical storm, which they're saying is likely going to happen tonight. So again, watching things carefully here. Not seeing a lot of wind energy, honestly. So that's some good news here. As we look at things, they could go ahead and drop this a little earlier if they don't see too much, but they had that wind gust there in the Mayo area to 50, so that kind of caught them off guard, and we're looking higher up, relatively 4,500 feet or so into the storm. So they want to err on the side of caution after getting a 51-mile-an-hour wind gust there at the high school, talking about, of course, this high school there in Mayo. So just have to be watching their Lafayette County. So I just want to be on those toes there just in case something kind of reemerges within the radar echoes, or even if it doesn't, because we're not going to see exactly what's happening there down toward the surface. Now, right here, that's more just a boundary we're seeing, not any maybe wind reaching the surface in terms of the actual thunderstorm axis. Maybe this is a gust front kind of scenario where we're getting some gusts there without any rain. So going ahead and zooming back out, though, again, a severe thunderstorm warning. We had a gust to 51. Maybe winds to 58 or so. Just got a new significant weather advisory for areas there further off. You can see quite a big area under this. Seeing some stronger wind enhancement here at times as we're looking further up here, especially west of Lake Park, seeing a little something try to come together maybe. And the Weather Service talking about winds in excess of 40 miles an hour possible. So just have to be kind of watching for that. If they get some reports, they might issue a warning to be on the safe side. Now, right now, though, we'll just wait and see. If you're wondering why we have the logo red, of course, it's because of what it's probably going to become Fred here shortly. That potential threat could be headed toward the Sunshine State here as we look ahead and toward the timeline. So I have to be watching for that indeed. Let's go ahead and pop up our track of that. The last update here from our friends at the National Hurricane Center in Miami. You can see it has this here as the PTC south of Puerto Rico. We were just watching that within radar scope a moment ago. So let me go ahead and take off our information on the severe thunderstorm warning for now, so I'm not confusing anybody as we're switching between different modes here of everything. But just trying to give you an idea of what is happening here. Going between some different things. Again, watching what might be Fred even now. I mean, honestly, looking at the radar, at least a depression could be forming here based on just the wind speeds. But you see the track here. As we get toward 2 a.m., it's going to be there southwest of Puerto Rico, Hispaniola tomorrow afternoon, and then as we get past that by Thursday morning, so that'll be critical. See how it's held together at that point. The models might have a better handle on it then, but it's moving pretty quick. And then you see here as we get further up, moving maybe toward the Keys by Friday, later Friday, early Saturday, and then crossing the Keys there Saturday, possibly, or South Florida. Could be a stronger system even as some other models have hinted. So let's go ahead and pop up some of them. In fact, you can see our H-warp model, so maybe a Cat 1 hurricane approaching South Florida. That could be something to watch for. GFS showing a much weaker system, and then the TVC in there. You can see that. I'll take off H-warp. You can kind of see that it's a little closer to the official track here. But with it further out in the Gulf, it'll be able to maintain itself maybe or strengthen a little bit more versus the scenario when it goes over South Florida, it kind of weakens, and then if it stays close to the coast, then it wouldn't have as much have much of an impact there, be as impactful. But again, I will continue to watch. You see things moving pretty slow, and that can dump the rainfall there around. So we'll be watching that. But again, the reason we're on right now is The thunderstorm warning for areas in the Big Bend, Mayo area, looking north across city here as well. Seeing some other significant weather advisories pop on up. So going to continue to watch things. I'll be back in a few minutes. I know even toward Levy County, seeing some pretty heavy rainfall there as well. You can see that here as we're looking just west of Dunellen, east of Inglis, moving toward the Inglis area right now there in far southern Levy County. Yankeetown maybe here as well. We don't talk about you guys too often, but even far southern Levy County, part of our viewing circle, and some stronger accent might be moving into toward your neighborhoods here in the next little bit. So again, gonna go ahead and zoom back up toward the north there as we're trying to keep you, your friends, and your family safe. And while we're doing that, we're gonna go ahead and gather some more details. I'll be back in just a few more minutes, so stay tuned, everybody, as you stay safe. Back within the Weather Center, still watching this severe weather warning in place. So just kind of stay tuned as we do so. We're going to be monitoring the situation here as we keep you updated. I'm going to go ahead and pop on up our other radar right now. So let me go ahead and do that. As you can kind of see what's going on here. We'll go ahead and zoom back on over to our main radar view. You can see we do have this yellow polygon here. It's a pretty small area, and we don't see as much in the way of storminess. I know there's been some storminess toward the south, and it is dropped the warnings. That's good news here, folks. Definitely some good news. Do want to emphasize a couple more things before we go off. And we're watching the weather to the north there. Wisconsin yesterday, we had that confirmed tornadic action toward parts of northern Illinois. We were giving you a warning about there. So that was something that was definitely worth noting for those folks. And then also, we are watching the system south of Puerto Rico now. We did see the velocity. It seems like we're getting a spin there, but it may not have a lot of meat to it. Doing some other analysis here over the last few minutes. I mean, in some regard, we're tracking a system here that is more of a swirl in some ways, and then that might make the Hurricane Center think it, and just even measure within winds that we might only have depressant type winds here. So even if they were to designate it a depressant, could actually be a little more likely than it being classified as a tropical storm. But we'll just wait and see here. That's earlier on. So We do have that spin, though, that's more evident, as we've talked about, so we need to be kind of on guard for that. If it can try to get more meat on the bone, per se, the bone's kind of there, I guess you could call it. But again, we'll continue to watch with whatever becomes a PTC6, 70% chance of it becoming Fred here, or 90% chance, excuse me, of it becoming Fred here within the next 48 hours. We have a 70% chance of rain as we look toward the weekend, toward our area. And we'll also have to watch maybe another system develop in here, heading way off from the east, moving way on into toward the west here pretty quick, kind of catch people off guard as we're looking ahead later on in toward the time frame. So let's go back on over right now. You can see our local radar picture. You can kind of see how things aren't as strong. They dropped the warning, which is obviously some great news here. Great news. Do want to pop up our 7-day real quick if we can, because you guys will probably want to see this if you didn't tune into the update earlier. We do those in the late afternoon, Monday to Thursday, of course. But here's that 7-day. You see the rain chances is not too high, but high enough we can get that energy and that really that moisture to kind of mix, and then you have those storms maybe become severe briefly. They get a report of trees down in Mayo from 648. That's going back a little bit further on there. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and check something else here in the chat room. Here, 709, we had a significant weather advisory issued for some of these areas off toward the north, and then the warning here is issued at 646. So the report there coming in right after that. So, I mean, honestly, even if we come on the air, sometimes the situation kind of precedes us because, I mean, within a couple of minutes of a warning being issued, something happens. That's just not a lot of time to take action this time of year. So you can always go to Clyde_X on Twitter for those immediate warnings that come out in a second. They're issued pretty much from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee or in Jacksonville. So that's helpful as well. But we're watching that moisture, something we might be on for a while for. Could be Fred as we look towards Sunday toward Monday here as we're watching the tropics closely. Could have some impacts in as far as South Florida, the Keys Saturday, or even later Friday, depending on the ultimate path of this and the ultimate strength and structure as well. So we'll keep on watching that. But that pretty much does it for now. Sending that radar. Of course, if anything else goes through, we'll let you know whether it's cutting in or posting about it on the various platforms. We're still going to watch for that rain, though, here around Mayo to kind of pick on up here as we're looking really in some other spots here as well, because as we see with the amounts that have already occurred over the last several days, we just have to be ready that this rainfall could cause some more road closures if it hit in the wrong area. And probably more toward Dixie is what we'd be concerned about that, and we're not seeing as much of that down there, luckily. But if we were to get some more formation that moves in toward that area, we'd be more concerned. But still getting close toward that Steinhatchee River, that could be a problem if we need to break back and move. Otherwise, have a great night.